the revolutionary ankle lock system, an integrated brace built into the boots, delivering unrivaled support, protecting ligaments from twists, tears, and trauma.
Regan Slaymaker for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and Our Kings, and I have the pleasure to be joined by the voice of boxing, this time over Zoom, Adam. Adam, you've been on holiday. How have your trips been?
Yeah, I've been all over the place actually. I've been to West Cork, had a couple of weeks in Ireland, which I love. Then I was out in Saudi for Moses Atama's victory over Dillian White, which was a quick trip. And then I ended up in America. We go to Cape Cod, which is just down from Boston, and I had about 10 days out there. So yeah, I've had a really nice August. But Andy and I are back on the road, and the voice of boxing returns. And yeah, and we're back in Sunderland for the Pat McCormack night on the Zone, and then it's Belfast for Croc O'Donovan and GBM at the end of the month in Sheffield, and so on. A busy autumnal and winter season on the Zone in boxing generally. Of course, Canelo and Crawford next week too. So yeah, there's so much happening, and it's always an exciting time of year. I always found that when I was at Sky, that normally you'd have the Christmas period, maybe a bit of January off, and then August off, and those times where you came back and you were refreshed and revitalized and ready to go again, and yeah, exciting. So yeah, I can't wait to get back on the road and back on it.
Definitely. I do want to talk about the voice of boxing, your channel with Andy in more detail in a minute. But obviously, you mentioned into Sunderland for Pat McCormack this weekend. I spoke to Pat the other day. I think he'd have liked if he was more active in his career. But what a fighter we have! And after with a win on Saturday night, there's a lot of talk of him going. It's a world title eliminator on Saturday night. What a talent he is! Also Olympic silver medalist as well.
He is a super talent, really is. Both the twins, Pat and Luke, they were fantastic amateurs, and I think they're learning a lot under Ben Davison in that thriving gym. And Pat, yeah, look, we when we were at Sky and Ben Shalom got his deal, we were very interested in signing them. Obviously, Eddie got Pat, and he was on the Zone, and now I'm on the Zone. It's funny how things work out, and it'd be a pleasure to see him thrive really, and that's what he should do. He's got so much ability, and I know that he's really knuckled down and he's really dedicated himself in the way that he needs to as a hardened professional, because he's got all the quality. So it's just a case of moving him, and he's not young, so they've got to move him fairly quickly. And I think he was worried about being sort of a little stagnant, but I think this is a good opportunity for him, headlining in Sunderland, in his home. The Black Cat's back in the Premier League as well. I think it's a great time for the North East to get behind him, and I think he's really good. So I'm expecting big things. He's got a tough Mexican in front of him Saturday night first of all, and hopefully he'll get good rounds. And if he gets a good victory, he can push him on, and the likes of Conor Walker and Harlan Eubank and others that in and around the welterweight division, WBA eliminator, as you say. So yeah, he could be knocking on the door for a world title, maybe at the back end of 26. But Pat McCormack is certainly a real talent, and we've seen a lot of talents who maybe haven't achieved what they should have achieved. I thought he was going to win gold in Tokyo, and he had to settle for silver. But I really do think that there is somebody, and I've known about him for a long time, who can really fight. And I think he's adapted well. Thought it was a great victory over Robbie Davis Jr. If he keeps sort of evolving in the way that I think he should, providing he listens to Ben and his team, and Eddie gets in the right fights at the right time, I think he'll be a world champion.
Definitely, he's a top talent, Pat, and fully focused on his boxing as well. The next thing I want to talk about, Adam, is the boxing news power list that come out, the most influential people in boxing. I don't know if you've seen, it's rattled a few feathers, but the one thing that I think has rattled the most feathers of all is I think Anthony Joshua being only, I think someone will correct me if
40
it's wrong,
something,
like
40, yeah.
49th out of 50,
Yeah.
48th out of 50. I just want to get your thoughts on it because, from my opinion, that's incredibly low for the most influential people in boxing, not just fighters, but people as well.
Look, I don't know who made the list up in Boxing News. I write for Boxing News occasionally.
Mm.
I think they're a phenomenal group. And yeah, this is all subjective, and to
Of
be
course.
honest, what is it? It's a bit of fun. What does it really matter? We all know Turkey's number one. We know Frank and Eddie are right up there, and yeah, for me, obviously, fighters like AJ and Fury have had that influence certainly over British, if not the global powerhouses of world boxing. Should be right up there, of course. I mean, maybe AJ because I'm not defending this, but maybe because he's not been around since the Dubois fight. Maybe that
Mm.
they're just basing it on the last 12 months and the inactivity just put him down the list. But as a guy that could still sell a stadium out against you or me, and what he's done for boxing, and the poster boy for many years, and he's just opened up a whole new load of supporters, fans to the sport. The amount of stadium shows he's done, and that incredible sort of night back in 2017 when he beat Klitschko, and you just think, God, and he's still going, and he still wants to become a three-time world champion, and who knows, still the Fury fights ahead, and maybe others. You got to have him higher than that, in my opinion. But yeah, look, it was great, and I was more interested in seeing the people that had made it a little bit higher. Like I saw Lee Eaton in there, who's worked so hard to get where he's got to, and I was so chuffed for him. And who else was in there? I mean, Frank Smith's done so well, and he's right up there. It's great for me to see these people who've really put so much work. Brian Peters, he's a good friend of mine, and has been around, and look at the stable that he's built, and he wouldn't care. Brian wouldn't care if he's 50 or 500. He just does the same job for his fighters. But it was nice to sort of, I guess, to see him in there, and I don't know, like Sergei Lapin, various people that I've worked with over the last year or two that I've really got close to, and I think that's fantastic to see them in. And some of the under 30s, they did a list, didn't they, recently? Kirill Korobra, Ed Huntley from Talksport were in the top 30 under 30, and it's just great to see people recognised that are putting a lot of work into boxing. It's totally subjective.
Mm.
Of course, in my opinion, AJ should be a lot higher. In Eddie's opinion, he probably should be top five. But yeah, everyone's going to have their. That's what we love. We debate this
Mm.
sport, and that's why no one agrees. But yeah, for me, it's a bit of fun, and take it with a pinch of salt. And yeah, it's good copy, isn't it?
It definitely is as well. I do want to talk about. You had the best seat in the house for AJ's. Obviously, I don't want AJ's career to end anytime soon, but his golden era, let's say, when he was unifying those titles. I mean, your commentary, I think, it's crazy to say, but will be played for a lot for years to come, Adam. I mean, what was the vibe like when did you know that you were on a special time in British boxing when you were ringside for these nights in at the Millennium Stadium, Wembley Stadium, I mean the O2 Arena. I mean, did you know you were involved in something really, really special in British boxing?
You could really feel it, Regan. It was a time where it catapulted through to the social and sporting worlds. It wasn't just about trade boxing. I think we've had different eras. When I grew up, and on my wall still, the likes of Barry McGuigan, Tommy Hearns. That sort of Hearns, Hagler, Leonard, Duran era was huge. Obviously, the Ali, Frazier, Norton, Foreman. That was all before my time, and obviously I've seen a lot of it. But when I started, it was at Sky. It was Chris Eubank Senior. It was the latter part of Frank Bruno when he beat Oliver McCall 30 years to the month now, and Nassim Hamid coming through. So there's different waves,
Mm.
stories that you latch onto. Ricky Hatton's development, Joe Calzaghe's. But I think there was a big move, and Barney Francis, who was head of Sky Sports at the time, was majorly involved in it because he was a big boxing fan. And I think that he wanted sort of one promoter, and Eddie got the keys, and he was this young pup, and he had to sort of live up to Barry, and he just was a fan, and I was a fan, and I think it was just a time where I had this fantastic team, and he had these young guys at Matchroom, and suddenly it started becoming something, and it went from leisure centres, and okay, we had a big deal with Frank Warren, and he had the huge shows at times up in Scotland, or Ricky Hatton Costas Hugh, or the big Calzaghe fights. There were some big nights, but there was also a lot of leisure centre shows as well every Friday night, and suddenly there was a big shift. And it was like, okay, how can we get arenas filled? How can we make boxing sexy again? It was not just the Sweet Caroline, or it was the fact that we attracted celebs there, or we made Matchroom made it a little bit more cool to go, or Sky gave a little bit more time, or we brought ringside back. It was a culmination of a great deal of things. Some very, very talented people at Matchroom and Sky, some very, very talented fighters that came through. London 2012, the likes of AJ, Katie Taylor, Luke Campbell, Nicola Adams. There was a feel from London 2012, and I remember AJ's signature that Matchroom got it, and I remember the email. I got this crystal clear memory, Regan, the email that came through to Barney, to me, CCing Barry in from Eddie, or from Barry CCing Eddie in, the four of us, and it was like, boom, we've got him. And it was just this guy who was good looking, who was charismatic, who was Olympic gold medalist, who's you just felt there was going to be something that changed. And at the time, I didn't think he would be as good as Lennox Lewis. I thought he'd be better than Frank Bruno, but not as good as Lennox. He'd been stopped in the amateurs. He'd lost 3 fights. He was quite a raw amateur. He won the Olympic gold, but there was a little bit of controversy along the way. I thought he'd be very good. I thought he'd become a world champion. I didn't think he'd probably be as big as he has done. I think he's done really well, AJ. I think he's learnt along the way. And I think he'd tell you that he wasn't that natural fighter at the beginning. It's taken him time. But I think because of the commercial value and what we saw in him, and the fact that every single woman in my family, whether it was my daughters or my wife or my mum or my mother-in-law, they all loved AJ. And I think that brought something cool into it. People wanted to come. My brothers wanted to come. Everyone just suddenly started sort of wanting to follow his journey. And with that came a whole load of other people as well. And I think he opened the sort of door. Froch Groves, of course, was a big moment at Wembley with a rematch, but then there became stadium shows, and almost it was like AJ was in a stadium every time he fought. It was crazy. But yeah, did we feel it at the time? Yeah, and we grew with it, and it was a golden halcyon period for us at Sky, for Matchroom, for boxing. It was brilliant. And I'm not saying that Box Nation was going on and Tyson Fury, and there were a lot of other great things as well. Channel 5 and DAZN then came into it, a lot of other things. But Sky Sports and Sky Sports Boxing at the time of ringside, we were getting everyone through the doors. Every fighter wanted to come on ringside, whether it was Sugar Ray Leonard or Marco Antonio Barrera or Mike Tyson or Khan and Brooke. We had them all on. And it was Johnny and I just loved it. And we had a great team around us. And yeah, so it was a fantastic period. And, Johnny and I did ringside for, I think, 5 or 6 years. And I was gutted when it finished. And he said, Ads, you leave the party at its highest. And that's what it was. And I think, I'm not sure a period like that will ever come around again. Eddie would, say this period's great, and Frank would say this period's great, and Frank's been the one that survived through it all, and he's now the main man again. And it's incredible the way boxing sort of moves. But if you're asking me about that particular period, and did I feel it at the time, 100%. And did I love it? Would I love to go back in it for a couple of weeks? Yes, definitely. It was a very, very special period in my life and in the life of everyone that was involved in it.
I mean, definitely. I mean, if I wanted someone, I don't think I could get a perfect more sum up of that time, Adam. That was amazing. I mean, one person you mentioned who was a part of that golden age was Carl Froch, and I mean, every time I see you, Adam, there's a new thing that's floating around in the boxing news that I don't think that would be there the week before, and that's a potentiality of Carl Froch coming out of retirement and fighting Darren Till. I mean the commotion at the end of Darren's fight at the weekend, and Carl calmly eating an apple, I think, was the most Carl Froch thing I've ever seen. But I mean, what were your first thoughts when you see these images from the Misfits fight night last Saturday?
I mean, look, I opened my eyes with the YouTubers many, many years ago. I'm a hardcore boxing fan, but suddenly we had the opportunity to do KSI and Logan Paul, and I was not negative about it, but I was skeptical. And then we went to LA and we had a phenomenal week with the YouTubers, and realized that there was a movement, and my kids were really involved. And I admire anyone that gets in a boxing ring. Okay, so I have respect for all of them. I'm friends with Will Anderson, who had a crack on Misfits, and I'm sure he'll be back. And to see any sort of fights, providing they're well matched, that's my thing. When I see sort of Mike Tyson, a legend, and Jake Paul, and Yeah, I'm glad no one got hurt, right? It's like when I
Mm.
see Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather, I'm thinking, well, if people want to watch it, fine. Two legends, etc. We all know what it's about. Um, but I think Misfits has got a place. People,
Mm.
it's a packed out. When I was ill after my cancer, it was the first show I went back to, and I was in Manchester with my daughter, and it was KSI and Tommy Fury, I think, and we went in. I think my eldest said, "Oh, she fancied Tommy Fury. Can we go?" And I called Callow up and I said, "He said, absolutely, come along." And yeah, and it was great. And people were in there from 5 o'clock, and they absolutely loved it. Was it great
Mm.
boxing? Not compared to a lot of boxing I've seen, but it was great. It was fun. It was competitive, and you get what it is. They're YouTubers and they've got big audiences, and I think it's definitely got a place. I'm a big admirer of Darren Till. I think he's fantastic. He's charismatic. He can fight. And obviously Carl's my mate, and Carl Froch was a legend. He's got this, this his own YouTube channel, which is totally Carl, sitting in his man cave in Nottingham and just sprouting his stuff. He's highly bright, he's highly controversial, and it'll always be like that. And I love Carl to bits. He's my friend. I commentated with him for many years. I brought him into Sky. I was a big part of that with Barney Francis as well. We got him a great position at Sky, and he loved the commentary. And I remember a time where Kell Brook and Golovkin were fighting at the O2, and at the end, Gennady had won, and he was sort of stalking around the ring, and Carl got up off his seat, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he's like eyeballing Gennady. He's like, "I'll have you, son." And I'm like, "What? Sit down. You've had your nose job. What are you doing?" It's like it you can't ever take it out fighters, can you? They
Mm.
they they still want to fight. There's something. Now, this, I mean, if they pay him a ton of money, Carl doesn't need to do it, but could I see it happening? Possibly, yeah. I
Mm.
probably could. And would I go along to it and support my mate? Maybe. Look, never say never to anything in boxing. We've got
Mm.
Jake Paul and Javante Davis. We've got crazy stuff, and people saying it's a circus. And I get it. I get the hardcore, the connoisseur saying it's just wrong, and the purists, that it's not fair on fighters that have spent their life working for something. But this is the entertainment business, okay? And every single fighter that laces them up has got my respect, whether they're a four-rounder, a misfit, other YouTubers, whatever, a white collar, providing it's as safe as it possibly can be. This is a dangerous sport,
Mm.
and you don't want fighters to get hurt. So providing it's as fair as it can be, and I've seen white collar fights which are brilliant, and white collar fights which maybe shouldn't have happened, and it's your hands you're in their hands sort of thing.
Mm.
But this is why the professional promoters, the Warrens, the Hearns, the Arons are brilliant at what they do, because they make sure that the matches are there for entertainment, and also the British board, especially for safety. So yeah, providing it's a safe playing field, so to speak, and it's not a sport you play at, then I'm up for anything to be put in front of me, and it's up to
Mm.
people whether they want to watch it. People used to say to me, Regan, "Why do you charge 25 quid for a pay per view?" I'm not charging that, right? I work for a business. Sky
Mm.
is a business. They need to make money. Fighters need to make money, and the only way that a big pay per view fight can happen is if this is charged. Otherwise, these fights won't happen, right? So
Mm.
it's your choice whether you want to pay for it or not pay for it. You can shout at me, you can shout at Eddie, you can shout at Sky, you can shout at the fighters, but ultimately they're the ones getting in the ring and putting their lives on the line for our entertainment. Your entertainment as a journalist, my entertainment as a broadcaster, and we always should remember that. So yeah, look, I love charisma, I love storytelling, I love crazy stuff. If it's a fair playing field, and they feel Darren Till against Carl Froch can be fought at a fair level, then if both of them sign up for it and there's a lot of money in there, then I don't see what the problem is. It's entertainment.
Definitely, it's a. I mean, I think that fight will be massive, and it's already doing crazy numbers as well. You touched on this exhibition that came around last night. I kind of didn't really believe the poster when I saw it, but I had to double check, and it was real. Floyd Mayweather and Mike Tyson in an exhibition fight. It seems. I mean, it of all the things that has happened this year, Adam, is that the most crazy thing that we've seen? Is it like is even and that I feel bad saying it with Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis happening. Floyd Mayweather and Mike Tyson's a bit of a is the craziest thing we've seen this year.
I mean, the two craziest things I've seen is probably Chris Eubank Senior showing up at Tottenham
Yeah.
and Dominic Szoboszlai's magical miracle goal at Anfield. But yeah, look, when I saw it, did I take or do a double take? No. Look, we've had Floyd Mayweather fight Logan Paul. We've had,
Yeah.
as you said, Gervonta Davis, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. Nothing surprises me anymore. And this is, people will watch it. Did I like Mike Tyson against Roy Jones? Not particularly, because I thought it would be what it was, which was a bit of a glorified spar. But if people want to watch it, and I know that I saw Johnny's thing on Sky Sports saying that there's a bit of needle between the pair and they've never really liked each other. Well, maybe it'll be a bit of fun, and maybe one of them will take it a little bit more seriously than the other. I don't know. Look, they'll both be paid a ton of money. And as I said, it's entertainment. If people want to watch it, that's absolutely great. Do I get really excited about it? Floyd Mayweather's the greatest fighter I've ever seen live. I've had the pleasure and privilege to commentate on him. I've been in his training camp since he was young. I mean, the guy is a legend. Does he need to do this? No. Mike Tyson was one of my heroes growing up. Does he need to do it? No. Is it a bit sad to see them doing this at this stage? 48 and 59, are they? Is it a bit theatrical? Yeah, but then boxing is theatre. So it's going to sell and people are going to watch it. And it's bringing eyeballs to our sport. And people will say it's not right, or people will go mad about it. People go mad about Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. I love tennis. I love cricket. I love darts. I love other sports. But a lot of people are choosing our sport. And that's got to be good, isn't it?
Yeah. No, definitely. Talking about the next bit of theatre that I think is more for the hardcore fan. I mean, Canelo and Crawford, Adam. I mean, I don't think I've spoken to you about it, but I mean, as the weeks, I mean, they announced it so far out, but as the weeks have come closer and it's next week, I mean, it's going to be next week's going to be absolutely mental, and it's crazy to say because we've got Crocker Donovan and everything and a Nui on the Sunday, but Canelo and Crawford's going to be an absolutely mega event, let alone and the fight. I think it's going to be more intriguing as the days come into it as well. How are you seeing this fight? Just under a week out now.
I love it. I love it as a fight. It's a super fight, once in a generational type fight. I was doing the my drive show with Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent on Talksport on Tuesday, and they both said, "Look, it's slipped under the radar. It's not getting enough coverage." And I'm tempted to agree that I think that I'm not sure if it's in the sort of psyche of the hard, well, it is in the boxing fans, in it. Obviously, everyone's talking about it, but in the sort of hardcore football fans or the general public, are they talking about it? Do they know Terence Crawford as well? I mean, the Ring magazine, back to front, it's a phenomenal fight. It's a fight for the ages. It's one, obviously, I'm with you in Belfast for Crocker Donovan, which is a big fight in itself, but and that's for DAZN. But would I love to be at Canelo Crawford? Of course. It's as I said, a generational fight. It's a phenomenal fight between two of the greatest fighters that we've seen in the last 20 years. And it's intriguing and it's curious and it's compelling and it's got all the different ingredients we love before a fight is actually before a fight takes place, before that first bell goes, because it's the intrigue of what will happen. Will Canelo be too big, too strong, too powerful? Is it the right time to get to Canelo? Is Crawford's coming out party on Netflix? Maybe people haven't really given him the respect he deserves. Is he jumping up too far? Will speed beat strength? David Goliath. I mean, there's so much, right? Will Canelo dare lose on his doorstep with his Mexican fans in Vegas? It's Crawford. It's his moment. He's waited for. And hopefully it'll be an amazing fight. And it's a fight that I think Terence Crawford can win. I love speed, skill, balance, IQ, footwork. I think Canelo is a master, but he's had nearly 70 fights, and I think that Crawford is not young, but a 4 division champion jumping up a couple more is a huge ask. But I think that he has got the ability to do this, providing he boxed a plan. But we don't know, and that's the thing we love about super fights is we don't know. So I love it as a fight. I just hope that you're right, that come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week, it does get the traction that it deserves, sort of universally, not just in our sort of small boxing world, because it's, as we talked about, there's lots of legs and arms to it now. But I think that, you know what I mean. It's had a lot of talk and chatter in our eyes, but we just need it just to be a bit broader. It deserves to be. It's a standalone fight. It's one that people should stay up for or get up for, and it's on Netflix. So it's an opportunity for the world to watch two of the greatest battle it out, and it'll be fascinating to see who wins. But it's Crawford for me. And I love Canelo, by the way, and I love him as a person, and I love him as a fighter. And I was there right at the beginning when he turned, and I followed his whole career. But De La Hoya and Bivol and even Scar last time moments, I'm just thinking this is the time maybe for Terence Crawford, his coming out party.
Okay, I mean it's a mega fight as well. Just to finish, Adam, obviously you've launched the voice of boxing with our good friend Andy as well. I mean, how is it? Obviously, obviously you've been around in boxing for so many years, but this is kind of it's kind of a dipping your toe into kind of the social media side of things. I mean, how have you found kind of the launch of the voice of boxing, which can I say it seems from the outside looking in a massive success, but how have you found it kind of it's not a new venture, but it's a different venture within the same realm. I mean, how have you found it, the voice of boxing?
Yeah, look, I mean, I was chewing the fat a while ago, and someone said, "Oh, you should do your own channel." I'm thinking, nah, it's not for me. I'm not a YouTuber. I don't know what I'll be doing. But this before I started working for DAZN, and I was thinking what to do, and then people said, "Oh, but why don't you do a podcast?" And I did this podcast, and I was doing it up in Mill Hill, and it was in a nice studio, and I was having difficulty getting people up there. And then we did a few Zooms with Eddie and with Dillian White and Joe Parker and some good names, and I started to think, well, maybe we can do this a bit differently. And then I did some work with Team Usyk and RTF, and I was covering the AJ Dubois fight for them, and they said, oh, the cameraman had let them down, so they said, oh, we got this guy he's Ukrainian and he's a sort of mate of Usyk's. His dad knows Usyk, whatever. And anyway, this fella turns up in a Starbucks at Tottenham Court Road back in September last year. So, blimey, a year now. And it was Andy. And we just clicked like that. I mean, you ask him, honestly, sometimes it's just serendipitous in life, right? You just find someone. Johnny Nelson was the same. As soon as I saw him back when he was a European champion, and I told him he had to become a world champion if he wanted to get a Sky job and whatever. And from that moment, we've been best mates for 30 years. And Andy, okay, it's more embryonic, but we just clicked. And I loved his passion, his intelligence, his creativity, his zest, his boxing knowledge, just everything. The fact that he's Ukrainian, my grandfather was Ukrainian, and there's just a lot of links, and Usyk and Klitschko's, and the fact that he just wanted to do it, and he had his own company and doing corporate videos, and he just wanted to do something in boxing. And so we just sort of felt, why don't we just do this? Why don't we just travel around? I'm working with DAZN, and Andy's really charismatic, and he's such a lovely guy, and I just didn't think it would be long before people took to him. And yeah, and we just get on great. And I think that's what it's all about. It's like, if this is successful, great. If it's not, we're going to have a lot of fun doing it, and we're going to make cool content. And if people like it, they don't. And someone says to me, "Oh, you've got to be controversial for numbers to fly." I'm like, I'm not. I'm not controversial. I love boxing. I have respect for fighters. I'll say what I think about fights and what I think about fighters, and we'll get close to fighters because I love them, and we'll go and get close to fans. Maybe that's a new element because we are fans. And Andy and I just we're having just the time of our lives, and we're rolling around the country, and we got out to the States, and we did some stuff with Katie and in that fight, and then we're going to go to Riyadh, and we managed to get we've got 3 sponsors on board now, which is really cool. And so yeah, we're loving it, and we're very grateful to those sponsors for allowing us to do this and to sort of roll with it. And who knows what it will become. But the most important thing is we're both passionate, we're both dedicated. You will not find a guy that works harder than Andy Levada, who puts more in. And yeah, I love it. He's keeping me young, and I've got to slightly be after my cancer, be slightly careful of my work-life balance. But he's brilliant, and he'll always carry the stuff and help me along. And he's a magic guy. And yeah, listen, thank you for saying that about our channel. Yeah, we hope we're doing a good job, and we want to learn. And anyone that's got any advice or ideas or ways we can interact more with fans, that's what we want to do. And yeah, we love what we do. And yeah, we're learning off people like you and the other guys that do it. And we want to just have our little place in it and enjoy it. So yeah, it's an exciting venture. And yeah, we just want to engage with the fans, and we've got a passion, and that's what we're about. And I think I've met somebody who's relit that fire in many ways as well for me. So I think that's really important. And I think he's met someone who loves the sport as much as he does, and can help him on things as well. I've been around a long time, and he's new to it. So I think we work off each other really well. And now pretty much everyone says, "Where's Andy?" if he's not there, or "Where's Adam?" when Andy's there. So it's maybe I like bromances. I have one with Johnny, and maybe Andy's my bromance now. But yeah.
Definitely. I mean, long may it continue as well. And it's great.
Thank
It's
you.
great seeing you both at Fight Night. So, Adam, I'll leave it there. Thank you again for your time. And yeah, see you in Belfast next week.
The revolutionary ankle lock system, an integrated brace built into the boots, delivering unrivaled support, protecting ligaments from twists, tears, and trauma.